Good morning. It's Lisa with Lisa Heal Yourself, and today I want to bring a teachable moment to you. I just experienced a major trigger. I don't know if you could tell, I was just crying. I just had a total crying spell over a trigger, and I thought it was a really good opportunity to take this moment and make it teachable because I just had a teachable reflection myself, and I wanted to share it. So when we have chronic illness, chronic pain, chronic symptoms, chronic conditions, we carry a lot of tension around in our body. We are living with tension, even when we're having good days, even when we feel okay, and even when we think all is well. We, by nature, are carrying around tension in our body, and at any point, it can be tipped over and we have this visceral reaction. And when that happens, that proves to us that our reservoir of pain, that our bucket of pain is fairly full, and it doesn't take much to tip it over and expose the truth, which is that we are carrying too much tension in our bodies and wanting to protect ourselves against the world. So here's my teachable moment for you today. So if you have had chronic illness or chronic pain or chronic suffering, you know that you're terrified of those symptoms and of the bad days. And one of the things for me, and one of the worst parts of my journey, was not being able to ever figure out, even after years and years and years, I would just sob. And sometimes I still sob and say, like, I just don't understand. How can I have lived this for 7-8 years and still not know the foods or the triggers or how I can go from a good day to a bad day like that? Like, what happened and how can I not be aware or be able to figure out? Sorry, it's very windy here. I hope that you'll be able to hear me. Bringing it closer. And not be able to pinpoint the thing that, like, if you could pinpoint it, then you could solve the Rubik's Cube, right? You could stop eating the food you're doing, stop thinking the thought you're thinking, stop doing the thing, being in the environment, whatever it is, right? We replay all these. It's like we've been trying to solve a puzzle and we can't figure it out because we keep ending up with this chronic pain or chronic symptom or chronic, whatever that won't go away. And we don't understand what triggered it, and we worry and we go over the list, down the list. What did I eat? What did I do? What did I think? We go down the list. What could it have possibly been? It's like we're a detective with our own life, which is good. That's good because that's how you figure things out. But when you've been down this road enough and you've done everything and done all the detective work and had all the blood panels, the tests, the food antibody tests, you've done all the elimination diets, you have done everything, and you still can't figure it out, you end up hating yourself, and you end up having a lot of self-hate and feelings of failure, right? How is it that I can't even figure it out? I'm so stupid, I'm such a failure, I'm such a loser, that I don't even know, after all these years, what's causing this. So I lived with this feeling for so long, I can't even tell you, and that feeling creates so much distance between you and your real self because you're judging that self, you're critical of that self, you're angry with that self, right? For not being able to figure it out, for not being able to know. And just once you know, then you can just do what it takes, right? Avoid those triggers or do whatever it takes to get better. But because you can't figure it out, you're mad at yourself, you're mad at your body, you're mad at your mind. You're like, how come I can't figure this out? It's like a full-time job and I'm too stupid to figure it out. You degrade yourself, you feel angry at yourself, and you talk really poorly about yourself, and you actually feel like a complete and utter failure. And that feeling of failure we carry around with us. But worse than that, when you can't figure out exactly what triggers your symptoms, and when you don't understand how you can go from a good day with no symptoms to a bad day with tons of symptoms, overwhelming symptoms, and you just can't put your finger on what caused it, you feel like you're living in a world where you're literally walking. Sorry, my video cut off. Anyways, so you feel like you're walking around on landmines, right? You feel like there's a battlefield and there's all these like hidden landmines or traps that if you step on, you'll just go straight through, right? Or a bomb will just explode and you can't see them and you don't know where they are. So it's literally like walking through your day and you literally don't know what the triggers are, you don't know what foods to eat, you don't know what thoughts to have, you don't know what to do. And so you're terrified inside because it's like walking on eggshells. So we protect ourselves. People with chronic illness, we're not dumb. We protect ourselves. So we say, okay, I'm gonna go on an elimination diet, or I'm gonna do paleo AIP, or these are the trigger foods. These are what it showed on my panel. I must never eat this. I must never do this. I must never do this. These are the things that can help. Like you make your list. And even when you're better, you make your list. And even when you're having a good day, you're still aware, you know, I can't eat egg whites, or I can't eat this has set me off in the past, so I can't eat that, or I can't do this, right? So even on good days, you're tension filled, but you don't know it. You don't know you're tension filled. So let me give you my example. So this morning, I was having a great day. I was out on a beautiful walk, feeling great. Got back in the house. My son had made a smoothie for my father, who just finished heart surgery, and so I have him drinking a smoothie with all kinds of fruits and vegetables in it, and we're adding collagen, protein powder. Yes, we're adding grass-fed protein, we're adding collagen, and we're adding amino acids to it, and a couple of other powders. So I told my son, put all these powders in. I showed him the amounts, put all this fruit and vegetables and water in, blah, 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 mix it up, give it to him while I'm on my walk. Give him his breakfast. That will be great for him. So I get back, the smoothie looked delicious, and I said, great, I'll have a cup. Thank you very much. He pours me a big glass, take a straw. I start to drink. I almost polished the entire thing off. And I look over at the counter and I see the powders that he has on the counter, and literally I turned white as a ghost and I panicked. I could feel the panic coming off my body simply because I saw this container on the counter. I said to him, did you put this in it for your grandpa? He said, yes. I was like, okay, great, because I actually think this is super healthy. I bought it because I do believe this is super healthy. It's veg greens. It has everything under the sun in here that you could possibly want. All the different vegetables, cruciferous, sea vegetables, land vegetables, plant oils, you know, herbs, botanicals, all the good stuff, right? So, but I panicked. I literally felt the fear rise up in me. And it's because there's so much in here. So there's tons of my trigger foods in here because there's so much in here, right? I'm off of nightshades. Nightshades, check. I'm off of dark sea vegetables like spirulina and chlorella have triggered me in detox before. So they're also in here, right? There's all kinds, like I could probably list 30 ingredients in here that I would never touch with a 10-foot pole because I've just crossed them off my list completely. They're all in here, right? Numerous amounts of great stuff is in here, and some people would consider all of that stuff that I just mentioned great. But for me, I've come to believe over time that it's a trigger for me, so I've stopped consuming it. So I immediately went into panic, and what happens is you start to think, oh no, what can I do to make sure I don't get triggered, to make sure my symptoms don't come, to make sure. And internally, you're not consciously doing this, but you're subconsciously, oh no, what can I do? Should I preemptively do an enema? Should I preemptively drink a whole bunch of water? What can I do to stop? You're already starting to think, your mind is starting to protect you behind the scenes, right? From an innocent, healthy supplement, right? Going into a smoothie. I literally had such a visceral reaction to this, and I could see my mind and my walls of protection go up. How can I protect myself harder? I have to be so vigilant. I have to be so careful, right? And because I wasn't in control of this, I literally felt, again, like I was walking on landmines, and that like I could see myself, my mental subconscious, starting to double down on I have to be more vigilant, I have to be more careful, I have to really make sure that I know what's in all the foods, I have to cook everything, it has to be from scratch, it has to be grass-fed, it can only be isolated ingredients, I can never have those foods. Like, how can I make sure that this never happens again? And what can I preemptively do to ward off a setback or a crash or symptoms rising? So all this is happening, right? But then I realize, I take a breath, I step back, I detach, and I realize, and I can see it from a higher picture. I'm not afraid of this, right? All the symptoms and all the reaction like rising up in me, I can feel symptoms rising up, isn't from this. It's from the fear of having to live life, from the pressure that it takes when you're ill, of having to be so careful of everything all the time, even when you don't think you are, because at any moment, boom, you could step and a landmine could go off. If you're not vigilant enough, careful enough, aware enough, looking around hard enough, on guard, right? And this is how subconsciously we put up more walls. We become more vigilant, more controlling, more careful, more protective. So subconsciously this happens, but I can now detach, step back, breathe into it, find out, what am I actually afraid of? Am I actually afraid of this powder? Or am I actually feeling all these feelings? And I started to cry, welling up in me. Is this fear really like or is it because it just takes so much effort to be so careful and to be so on guard all the time, at every moment, that it's sad, it's exhausting, and that it's hard to live your life this protected, this over guarded, this over controlled against something that is invisible, that you can't even figure out, right? That you can't even figure out. And that's where the tension comes from. That's where my tension was. I could feel my muscles starting to get tense. I could feel some vibrating coming back into my face. I could feel the wall and the band of tension and stress coming across my back. And it's not because it's like a postpartum reaction against this particular thing. It's not because I'm so afraid of nightshades. It's because it takes so much effort constantly to live my life, to live a life when you're afraid of triggers, to protect against things that we think could set us off. Feelings, emotions, foods, bedtimes, thoughts, right? Certain activities, movements, exercises, whatever it is, we've decided if I go about living my life and I do these certain things and I don't step out of my comfort zone, and I eat these certain foods and I don't do this and I don't do this, then I'm okay. I'm safe. But it takes so much effort to stay safe in a world you can't control all the time, that's unpredictable, that you're gonna have a sip of a smoothie with your trigger foods in it without even your knowledge, even when I feel like I'm one of the most careful people. That is the point of just being careful and not even realizing that that's a problem. But then to have this reaction where I felt panic, and then I felt fear, and then I felt anger, and then I cried, and then I had this like emotional response, that is literally because it takes too much effort and energy to carry around all the control it takes to get it right, to get it perfect, to be safe, to guard yourself and protect yourself against all the unknowns in this world, so that you don't have a setback, you don't have symptoms, or you don't experience what you don't want to experience. So really, you protect yourself against life, against living. And so this was my teachable moment to you this morning, because when I stepped back in meditation and analyzed this, I could see it clearly, where in the past I couldn't see it. I would react to it. I would literally and subconsciously start to what can I do? How can I preemptively take action against having a crash? How can I protect myself harder? I have to be more vigilant. Like, this would all be happening under the scenes, and it would be creating more and more tension. Don't you see this tension? Can't you just hear that tension in my body that I would then carry around with? It's like I build the walls thicker. I build the walls, the armor. I build these dams thicker and higher, because you're afraid if the dams come down, you're not in control. You can't control it. You can't safeguard yourself. You can't protect yourself. But it's the tension in keeping the dams in place when the water wants to flow through it, right? It's hard, it's exhausting, it's tiring, and that's why you wear out so easily, and that's why little things can put you over the edge, and that's why we get swept up or bumped or bruised, or these emotional outbursts will come, or fear or feelings take us over, because they're just under the surface, and it doesn't take much to poke the bear, right? And this was my bear. Oh, I've been so good. I haven't eaten a nightshade in 3 years. Well, I just ate it. Uh-oh. What can I do? How can I protect myself, right? It's all that subconscious garbage that comes to the top of the surface. And yeah, I may get symptoms. Yeah, I might. But guaranteed, I already got symptoms from the fear of it anyway. From the emotional drain that it takes and that it has taken over the past years to protect myself against this ever happening. Right? That's where the tension is. That's where the tension comes. It's from the years and years and years of the self-protection against the unwanted, right? To keep ourselves safe. So let this be a lesson. Let this be a teachable moment for you. I hope this video has been helpful. I hope it's shown you, taken an example that happened to me in real time and how I was able to not react to it, to understand it, to meditate on it, and to come share the lesson for you, so that when you're in this situation, you can hopefully maybe see what is happening in the moment, and that by being this controlling and this protecting and living this hard of a life to live truly is where all that internal tension comes from, that actually causes your symptoms and keeps you sick and keeps you stuck. And it's a matter of releasing that, allowing the goodness of what's in here to come into my body, instead of feeling hate for myself and anger for myself that I let it happen, or fear of the unknown of what's going to happen with a nightshade. You know, it's all those feelings that keep us stuck and sick and can take over and really accumulate day in and day out with everything that we do. Or we can realize there's a lot of good things in here, and I'm not angry at myself. I don't want to protect myself that hard. Yeah, it happened, but I'm not going to be more vigilant. I'm not going to double down on my efforts now. I'm going to, in fact, loosen them more. Allow the goodness of all the things that are in here to enter my body, of all the vitamins and minerals I may have missed over the years by not having it. And to not be angry with myself, and to not feel like I need to protect myself harder, and to not have to do anything preemptively to try to ward off this, but just relax into this moment and say it's okay. It's just life. Release, let it go. Let go of the control. It is what it is, what it is. And I'm just be here with those emotions and those feelings and say, you're okay. Nightshades or no nightshades, you're okay. You're okay if you just let that pressure that you feel of having to always get it right go. Let it go. This was meant to happen. Revel in this and let it go. So I hope this video has been helpful, and I hope that you've learned something from it, because I know I have.